My name is Sonia Moore, and my presentation will be about the Texas Tech University Water Resources Center. Now, I'm so grateful I had an opportunity to take this class because I found out so much more about centers that I never knew. I also am deeply indebted to the Water Resources Center for allowing me to find out more about what they're doing to conserve water. I had an opportunity to visit with the director as well as other people associated with the center, and my interest grew so until I sought out others to see what they did as well, because I knew why they did it, but I wanted to know how they did it as well. So it was a wonderful experience for me. Now this presentation will talk about a lot of things involving water, such as how it's used, the main segments of society that use the water. We also will talk about the drought of the 1950s that ultimately led to legislation that resulted in water resources centers being created. I also will talk a little bit about the mission of the Water Resources Center, as well as their team that they work with, and also the communication that the leader of the Water Resources Center utilizes when he's working with other researchers as well as the general public. Now, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that water is the most common liquid on Earth. In fact, Earth is known as the blue planet. Water covers more than 70% of the Earth's surface. I don't know if many people realize, though, that we have so little fresh water available for our use because 96.5% of water is salt water, leaving only about 3.5% of water available for us to consume, whether it's showers or washing clothes, brushing our teeth, any type of thing that humans would need, including drinking water. We have a limited supply of that available at our beck and call. Now, there are a lot of different places where water can be collected, but the two that I'm going to talk about mainly are groundwater and surface water because these are the two that the Water Resources Center mainly concentrates on. Now, as far as the groundwater, the major project is the Ogallala Aquifer. Now, this is where most of the High Plains receives their water supply. The Ogallala Aquifer is about 174,000 miles, and it runs under several different states. The problem is that human consumption is draining the aquifer faster than it can recharge. So scientists are really concerned about the water resources that we are receiving from the aquifer, and that is something that they are working on at the Water Resources Center. For just one moment, let's imagine a world without water. Now, it's a well-known fact that humans can survive for about a month or so without food, but they can only survive for 3 to 4 days without water. That's how important it is to humanity. Just imagine for a little while, how would you go about your daily routine if you didn't have water? If you woke up, tried to wash your face, but no water came out of the faucet, or if you tried to brush your teeth, or if you tried to flush the commode, but it wouldn't work. What if you tried to wash a load of clothing, but there was no water? Something as simple as a cup of coffee, that requires water as well. Now just imagine if they turn off the water because of a water main break. That happened to me once, and it was like roughing it. I knew then that I was not designed for camping because I had to have my water. Now, there are three main segments of society that are responsible for the most consumption of water, one of which is residential. I was surprised when I realized that each person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water a day. I think that point right there really lets you know that it's more than just one person or two people that are overusing water. This is affecting all of society. And so this is why we need to really be concerned about water conservation. The next is industrial, and they use billions of gallons of water each day. And then finally, the one that I really want to concentrate on is agriculture. We live in West Texas, and agriculture is huge around here. A lot of people make their livelihood through agriculture. The average farm uses about 2,000 to 6,000 gallons of water a day. Now, it was a natural disaster that happened back in the 1950s that changed how we used water and how we thought about water. The drought of the 1950s it occurred between 1949 and 1957 when the state of Texas received about 30 to 50% less rain than we normally do. Combined with that, the temperatures were higher than normal. As a result, farmers suffered because of great losses. Some stats say that between 1950 and 1960, there were about 100,000 farms that just withered away because there was no water for them. Some researchers have said it was the worst drought in 700 years. Now, when looking for pictures, there were some pretty graphic and pretty disturbing photographs. There were some of livestock that had died, and the remaining livestock that were still alive were eating the dead livestock. So it was devastating, and it crippled the ag industry. But it didn't just affect Texas. Back in 1947, it's the belief that it started in central Texas when they had less rainfall than normal. But then by 1951, most of Texas was affected by the drought. But it wasn't just Texas, although Texas did suffer mightily because 44 counties of the 54 counties were declared disaster areas. Other states also experienced the drought as well, from Texas all the way to South Carolina. Because of that, the Texas Water Development Board was created in 1957 to address water issues so that hopefully we would never have a situation like that again within our state. But back in 1964, the Water Resources Act of 1964 went even farther than that because it mandated that water resource centers be created in all 50 states and also in Puerto Rico. It was designated that universities would be the best place to have those water resources centers so that scientists could study ways to conserve water. The Water Resources Center was created in 1965. Dr. Udamiri is the director, and he said that the Water Resources Center was the very first one of the centers that was created at Texas Tech designed specifically to focus on water research. The facility is about 10,000 square feet, so it's huge. There's a number of suites that are in offices in the center, and there's also conference rooms in there so that researchers can talk to one another about research plans that they have. There are also labs for researchers to collaborate with one another. And the full-time staff consists of 3 employees, which is the director, the lab manager, and an administrative assistant. Dr. Udamiri said that he also conducts tours with the general population so that he can share with them valuable information on water conservation. He believes communication is essential regardless of the level of scientific experience that a person has. Everyone needs to be concerned about water conservation because it affects all of humanity. Dr. Udamiri also stressed that it's important that the scientists learn to communicate with each other effectively because there's a number of different disciplines working together for one common goal, to conserve water. Some of the partners that they work with are the TTU South Central Climate Science Center, the College of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources Water Center, as well as the International Center for Arid and Semi-Arid Land Studies, called ICOSALS. I worked at ICOSALS for a number of years, but I failed to realize just how significant the work that the scientists there were conducting. According to Eikenberry and Friedman, this is exactly what centers are designed to do: work together as a team to solve a problem that affects society. It goes beyond one department. They need to communicate effectively to work on problems that affect all of society. Did you know that the average family can waste up to 180 gallons of water per week? This equates to about 300 loads of laundry. If you turn off water while brushing your teeth, it can save up to 8 gallons of water per day. And the average size lawn, if watered for 20 minutes a day, every day for 7 days, is equivalent to taking about 800 showers. I think these facts right here are enough to let us know that this is a problem that transcends more than one or two people. It affects all of society. I had to do some real thinking about how I use water as well. And as I reflected upon it, I wasn't proud of what I saw. I too am guilty of overusing water. And now I'm watching my family like a hawk to make sure that they're not overusing water. I think that this was a wonderful experience for me to see some of my flaws and to see where I can improve. I think we all can do that and can learn from that as well. Finally, for every drop of water you waste, you must know that somewhere on earth, someone is desperately looking for a drop of water. This quote comes from Mehmet Murat Ildan, and I think that's very appropriate. So please think the next time you used water. Thank you.